All right, everybody, we are back with a brand new Integrative Health Coach Success podcast. Can't wait to dive into this. I'm Dr. Stephen Cabral, board-certified doctor of naturopathy, founder of the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute. Excited to share this with you because, again, it really transcends all industries. Chiropractors, massage therapists, doctors, estheticians, personal trainers. I know many, many personal trainers in this boat. And, of course, integrative health practitioners and health coaches. So it's managing coach burnout before it's too late. And truthfully, I've been there multiple times in my career. Not proud of it, that's for sure, but been there multiple times. Some people are proud of it. I'm definitely not proud of it, but I will tell you that it's not good for you or the client, which is why I bring it up. For me, it shows, again, because it just starts to creep in, but it shows up differently for different people. They might take it out on their family. They might take it out on themselves with drinking or drugs or different things like that. They might take it out on their clients. I'll just share with you this without getting too crazy. I became far less patient and much more irritable with mainly my clients. And even a little bit of that is unacceptable. And I knew it was unacceptable. But like their questions, which again, it's our job to answer those as if it's the first time we've ever heard it. But I was working with 40 people a week, and I was doing 2,000 appointments a year and overseeing a practice doing 20,000 appointments a year. I was working 80-hour weeks. It was completely insane. And I was absolutely burned out, and I didn't have a good way out. I'm going to share with you how to get out of it. But I was just not patient enough when I should have been more patient. Now, did it happen all the times? No, of course not. Happened later in the day as 5, 6, 7 o'clock started to creep around, and I'm just wiped out. I'm exhausted from not only working on all these cases, but also from all the other things that happen when running a busy wellness center. And I had 2 locations, right? So, it's not good for you. It's not good for the clients. It's not good for your family, for your friends, just none of that. And that's why we have to look at it ahead of time. And when you start to see it creep in for you, a little change in your personality, a little bit more shortness or irritability or impatience or overwhelm. Yeah, you sometimes need to take a vacation. There's no doubt about that. But the problem is some of these, a week-long vacation, it doesn't settle out, right? And then it starts to affect your health. And I already knew about my previous health-based issues. So I was like, well, I can't go back there. So here's what we do. And this is the truth. That let's say you get to the place, and hopefully you tuned into last week's episode. That was episode 384, because we really went over like how many hours do you really need to be successful. And I know it's shocking to everybody outside of the IHP community, but most IHPs really only need to work with 1 client a day, 2 clients maximum. That's 10 a week. You can do that. For sure, you can work with 2 clients a day. And if you do that, you're going to be making an unbelievable income as well, like over 6 figures a year. And you're going to be doing great work, helping people to heal, which is really what it's all about. So like phenomenal, right? All right. So what happens though when you get above the amount, because again, when you're working with 2 clients a week, I shared this last week, you're not working just 2 hours a day, right? Sorry, 2 clients a day. You're not working just 2 hours a day. There's the admin time, there's the prep time, and then there's the client attraction time, I call it, right? So you're not working 2 hours a day. So 2, 3 clients a day, you say, okay, that's it. That's my max. That's all I can really handle because I've got to do all these emails. I still have to take care of my family. I got to pick my kids up. I got to take them to sports practice. I get it. I understand where you're coming from. Like some people are caretakers for elderly parents or whatever it might be, or you have other things that you want to do with your life. I get it. I totally understand. The first thing I'm just going to share with you, not only have I done it, but I share it with people that I mentor, coaches that I mentor as well. The first thing that you do is that you can gradually, nicely increase your prices. Here's the way that I always did it. And I did this when I was a very young personal trainer and nutritionist. And I did it when I was a doctor of naturopathy and of course still am, right? So I raised my prices on any new clients coming into the practice. And all my previous clients, I gave them a 1 year, and I told them that, a 1 year, same price. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for being a part of this practice. I appreciate you. And so it looked like this. My prices were $180 per hour for a consult, but that's really for the month, right? They got their email follow-ups as well. And as I shared with you last week, well, if you do 15 minutes a week in emails for that client, That ends up being $90 per hour, right? Because I spent $90 in email. $90. I got paid $90 for basically emails and $90 for the 1 hour because they only paid me $180 for the month, right? That's how it was split. So you look at it like, oh, my time went down and down and down. A lot of people don't see that. It happened to me when I was doing in-home personal training, right? So I was charging the same rate I would charge when I was at a health club. So let's say that at a health club, they charged $90 and I got paid like $35 or $40, let's say, okay? So I said, all right, I'm going to charge the client the same thing they pay at the health club, $90. All right. Well, I was like, well, this is great. I'm now making twice the money. No, I'm not. If it was a 1 hour session, it took me a half hour to get to that client's house, or at least the buffer I had to leave, and a half hour to get to the next person, right? Or whatever it is. So again, kind of split the time in half. So I got paid $45, kind of the same I was being paid at the health club, right? So you really want to be in that mindset. You want to understand it. So here's what I did. I went from 180 to 290. Nothing crazy. Nothing changed. Nobody really blinked an eye. And that was it. I was like, oh, wow, okay. None of the new people care. And so I was, for 1 year, earning 180 from previous clients, all the follow-ups, $90 for a half hour, 180 for the full appointment, or I think it was doing like $100 for a half hour and 180 for the full. Always made it a little bit more advantageous to do a 1 hour. And then I charged $290 for the all new people coming in. Great. So that worked well. I was able to kind of keep the same sessions or reduce a little bit. And then what I did was I actually raised prices to $490 another year or so later. We had a 6-month waiting list. So all new people coming in, it was $490. All previous people are now at $290 because the other people got brought up. And then after that, everybody went to essentially $490. And so that was one way that I was able to do it. But still, I had a really busy practice and I didn't necessarily want to keep doing that many appointments. So what I ended up doing was still keep my 8-hour consulting, coaching, doctoring, IHP days, but I took off Wednesdays. And Wednesdays became the days that I was writing my book and beginning to work on what would be essentially the podcast. And so before, I was more serious about the podcast. I would just jump in between appointments and try to get a show recorded. And I tried to be a little bit more like, this is a creative day. You stay in this mindset. And also it was on a Wednesday. So it was a little bit of a buffer because my nervous system was getting trashed. So I would go Monday, Tuesday. Wednesday was basically an off day. If you're telling me I get to read, write, record, research, like that to me is a fun day. Like I would do that for free. Like that's literally what I love to do. And then Thursday, Friday back on. And then it's the weekend. So it's like, all right, I go 2 days on, kind of like exercise. 1 day off, 2 days on, 2 days off. And so that to me was unbelievable. But now I could take on less clients. So what did I do? I hired another individual, which is what I highly recommend for you. So first, you'll increase your prices, probably the same exact way that I did, 180 to 290, although I recommend starting at 290 because of all the value that you give. And it's also many years later from when I first started my practice, right? There's a difference in pricing. And then after that, you'll hire another IHP level 1 or level 2 to help you. And you might say, well, I don't feel comfortable with them meeting with clients. I totally get it. That's normal. And here's what I did and still do to this day. I oversee their labs and their wellness plans. So I have amazing people on my team. They come to me and they, for whatever reason, they can't afford to work with me or whatever it might be. No problem. Like, here, let's do it for half the price. Meet with my coach. And they're amazing, right? They're one of my top coaches. And so what they do is they read over the labs. They write their wellness plan. I review all of the labs. I then write down exactly what I would do. Then I look at their plan and I go, oh, this is 90% there. Amazing. This I would remove. Here's why. And these I would add. And here's why. Now, guess what? You're a mentor to another coach. And that coach also is learning from you and then getting to help clients too. That is how you scale. I've done that my entire life. Literally, well, not my entire life, but since I started working and hiring other coaches, which was around 2003, right? So I did that first with nutrition because I had hired a ton of personal trainers and others, and they didn't get taught nutrition. So that's what I taught them, and it cost, of course, some personal training. I wrote all of their programs for the first 12 weeks because we had a very specific guide for our body transformation clients. Then I said, after that, you know the client, then you can work them through it. But this is what we're going to do for the first 12 weeks. And it worked amazingly well because we had systems and everybody got taken care of. And if anybody was to ever step in, they know the system. And that's why we were able to scale like we did. I mean, we hit 11, 12,000 appointments a year. Just even before we opened the wellness center, they opened up the wellness center. We were over 20,000 and we had a 6-month waiting list. I mean, but it all worked because of a system and because I didn't have to do all of that myself. I could do 2,000. I did 10% of the 20,000 appointments a year. So that is how you scale without losing your mind completely, right? Like that's a big part of it. And I want to share with you something a little bit more personal as well. So I hope that makes sense. First, you can increase your prices, still working with the same people. Then you get even more people and you don't want to raise your prices necessarily anymore. Then you hire another IHP2 who is charging less. I left that part out and I apologize. When I got to 290, I always had a coach at 180, integrative health practitioner coach. When I got to 490, I had someone at 290. Okay, then I started charging even more and I had them always at the 290. So the highest I ever went for one of my coaches was actually 290. Now it's 490 for my coach, but it was 290 previously for many, many years because that's an affordable price. It really is $10 a day. And if you can't afford that, I understand it. There's a free book, basically the Rain Barrel Effect. There's free podcasts because at this moment, we're probably not going to be able to, work together, but there's a lot of free information. So hopefully that makes sense. Now, I want to share this real quick. It doesn't just have to happen with health coaching. A lot of people have a lot of different projects going on in their life. And I had been pushing off IHP 3, our advanced certification, for some time because I knew the sheer level of obsession I get when teaching a new certification. It becomes all encompassing. And again, I like to do 4 things: read, research, write, and record. And that's what I do for certification. But it's at least 100 hours a month per module. So when you think about that, okay, I've got 8 modules. That's about 800 to 1,000 hours to create that certification. That's a big undertaking to try to swallow, right? So I put it off for quite some time, but I didn't want to anymore. And that is because the labs portal inside of Equalife is getting exactly where we need it to be. We're creating the structured data for even easier reading of labs. And Equalife, the team is so overwhelmed. We really want to teach that next generation to be able to cover all these advanced labs. Plus, the truth is that I just wanted to teach these and I want the highest 1% practitioner to understand them, to learn them, meaning you become that. You're not there before you enter it. You become an IHP 3 and you learn the material and then you become that top 1%. That's the truth. So here's the thing though, 100 hours a month, I had to add 25 hours a week if I wanted to do 1 module a month, which is what I promised the team. So sometimes it's kind of nice to put it out there. I promised the team and I promised our IHP community, and I'm never going to let them down. It doesn't matter if I have a cold, I get sick, I get whatever, or run down, or I'm traveling. It never stops. That's the commitment I make. Okay. Now, again, not everybody agrees with that. I totally understand. But I have a family now as well. It wasn't like I had young babies and toddlers when I opened my second location, the Wellness Center, and it wasn't easy back then. Trust me. My longevity score was not what it is today, which is funny because it's a decade later and my biological age is so much younger, and so. When I looked at this, I said, I can't add 25 more hours a week. I'm already working about 60 hours a week. So it put me at 85. Okay, that's 12-hour days, 7 days a week. Well, the weekends are my family's time. Okay. And then also I'm not stopping and skipping dinner and nighttime activities with the family. So something has to change here. So what I did, and this might be helpful for you, is I said, I need to cut out at least 1 hour to 2 hours a day of fluff. Whatever's there, right? Because if we look at 5 days a week and I need about 5 hours a day. So I said, what are 2 hours a day that I could do without? That was basically it. That's how I looked at it. So social media, that's why unfortunately, probably haven't seen me a lot on social media. You haven't seen a lot of stories. You haven't seen a lot of reposts. And I apologize for that. But it had to go for a season of my life, which is about 6 months. Right now, it's a long season. I get it. But once this material is done, and I love teaching it so much, it's unbelievable. It's my favorite to date, and it's taught in a new methodology and all sorts of different things. But then it's done. I mean, it really is. And so I looked at it like this. No more social media, no more scrolling, none of that. There's no TV. Not that I did really any TV before, to be truthful with you. I just never watch TV, but every once in a while I watch a documentary, with my wife, or we get into a series like what was back in the day, like Yellowstone or something like that, but it was just all gone. And so I was able to do that. And then I was able to delegate just a little bit more to my team. I said, hey, I'm not able to do this, this, and this for 6 months. Are you able to help me with this? Great. So then I needed to add now about another couple hours of my day which wasn't free. So that meant a little less of my morning routine in the morning that I typically do. I usually have 60 to 90 minutes of kind of my morning routine. And it was working just a little bit later into the afternoon. So the workouts weren't necessarily as long. But the truth is that I was able to do it. And I'm ending that in about a month or so from right now for the curriculum. And I can tell you that there are going to be times in your life where you are in that season and you do need to put in the work. And it's not easy, but if you know that there's an end in sight, it's when there's no end in sight that it's extremely difficult. I'm very happy that I put in the hours that I had to get this done. I couldn't be more excited for the curriculum in IHP 3 that's out right now. If you want to take a look at it, it's just over at integrativehealthpractitioner.org. And now it's there. And now, though, those hours get to go away. And the amazing thing is I don't have to add back more if I don't want to. I can take my hours down to the normal 50 to 60 hours that I would work per week. So what I look forward to is now being able to just take a little bit of that time and use it for my writing, for my next book. And use it a little bit more to get back on social media because I do like to connect with people. So that's, about an hour and a half a day. But I took my hours so far down to write the IHP 3 material, which took about an extra 4 hours on average per day, is I'm able to do that now. So there's a time and place for everything. There is that silver lining, but just be careful that you don't burn out. If you're in a position where there is no end in sight, look to specifically engage in the strategies I gave you today. It will make all the difference. You'll enjoy your career much, much more. You'll be helping other individuals like your clients to a greater degree. And who knows, you even might be mentoring a future IHP. All right, everybody, take care. Have an amazing rest of the week. I'll talk with you soon.